Architecture has always tried to solve one of the most common problems in the human life, the of shelter, and with the pass of so many years this necessity has been fulfilled beautifully, or at least we have thought. Modern architecture has suffered the pass of the years, and have been falling in a sort of degeneration. We have thought every architecture piece is a jewel, and treated as such. Architects have lost the very essence of the art. We produce shelters we can rely on, and not a sick relationship between the dependence of human being in the shelter and the dependence of the shelter in other technologies. To put it in some other words, we are relying on technology to happily live, and if this technology is broken, we are doomed. When we should live in a space that can sustain itself, for example, air conditioning system for air, when we could open a window, or artificial illumination when we could just design a building to have light from the sun. So instead of using technology to happily live in an unsustainable building, we should use technology in a way that human beings can create cheap and sustainable architecture. Our buildings have always been driven by a belief that the quality of our surroundings directly influences the quality of our lives, whether in the workplace, at home, or in the public spaces that make up our cities. Foster couldn't be more right about this. The surround determines the building, and such we can design beautiful buildings that both respond properly to the environment and to the requirements of the ones who live in there. Architecture is generated by people's needs. Flexibility is another need on today's world. Does the thinking behind their design anticipate needs that might not have been defined when they were created? Only time will tell, and so we design buildings that are flexible and able to accommodate change. Is of common knowledge the use since the 70s of hollow floors to pass through them the wiring required for computer rooms and others, but since a while the use of this kind of flooring in common houses can help in the change of the use of the building without the necessity of making major changes in the house or the so hated demolitions.
Architects can solve all the world's ecological problems, but we can design buildings to run at a fraction of current energy levels, and we can influence transport patterns through urban planning. Smaller, denser cities promoted biking and cycling rather than driving. High urban density leads to improving quality of life when housing, work, and leisure facilities are close by. High density or high rise does not automatically mean overcrowding or economic hardship. This statement made by Foster only shows that the architect can make the difference. City planning to be bigger than needed increase the damage to the environment. People need to move faster and to slow, so use more car error. They generate more pollution. Intense combat planning encourages the use by bicycles or house playing walking. And we are just closing with a few more words made by the master Sir Foster. If sustainability is to be more than a fleeting fashion, architects in the future must have themselves some very basic questions. For example, why do we still insist on using greenfield sites when we could build on reclaimed land series? Why do we demolish buildings that could easily be put to new uses? Why do we rely so heavily upon artificial lighting when we can design buildings that are filled with daylight? And we continue to rely upon wasteful air conditioning system in locations where we can simply open a window.